Thanks for joining us on our Stony Creek journey. I'm down in the berry patch doing some harvesting. Got a few bits and pieces, some strawbs, some blueberries, first blueberries, and some raspberries. So for those of you that thought, I wonder if that reflective paper or tape worked to keep away the birds, I think the answer is no. Excuse the flies, nearly swallowed one. Because I've been watching the raspberries turn lovely red and go to pick them and they're gone. So finally I've got some raspberries because we've just put a net over the back. So we've netted the whole thing. We've netted the blueberries, the raspberries and all the strawberries. So we're getting a harvest now. So it sounded like a good idea, but up here it just didn't work. There was a green bird and Robert thought it was a bowerbird. I wasn't sure what it was, but it was flying out of the patch every time I walked past, so it was having a nice old time. So finally we'll get a bit more of a harvest. So I'm going to put up a bit of gardening stuff, a few bits and pieces here and there. After the rains, how did we fare? Well, I tell you, the grass is just jumping out of the ground, which is lovely. It's fantastic, and the animals seem to be very happy. And you know what else that means? The mower's going to come out. But we're not complaining because we've got green grass. We had another thunderstorm last night. We got about 3 and a bit mils, so that was a nice follow on. But everything survived pretty well. Dams are still full, not leaking. Yeah, still got a bit of work to do on the driveway, but we'll get there. So yeah, I'll pop up what I'm doing in the garden and some other bits and pieces. Spending a bit of time in the garden today. I've been off farm for a couple of days with work, and the garden is really getting away from me a bit. A lot of things have gone to seed, and these carrots have gone to seed. So I'm just pulling them all, giving them a rinse, and then we'll store them, put them in the fridge. Some of them may be a little bit woody, but if they are, we'll just chop that bit off. But yeah, I should have really harvested these probably a good month ago, so note to self, harvest them early. And apparently carrots store really well, and you know, when we buy a bag of carrots at the supermarket, we probably have them in our fridge for quite a while. So I'll pop these in the fridge once they dry. But something I've learnt for next year, harvest them before they go to seed. You may remember the green beans I put under the little hothouse. So we're starting to harvest those. So there's some nice sized beans. We had some yesterday. Lovely, fresh, steamed green beans. So hopefully there'll be enough there for a good few feeds over the Christmas time when the family's here. But the important thing with these is to succession plant. So I've got some more growing over there. They haven't even flowered yet. So when these ones are finished, hopefully those ones will be ready. And then yesterday I put some more in the ground. So hopefully we'll get a succession of those. These red peppers aren't looking so flash, but they'll come good. 2 weeks ago I planted some parsnip seeds, and you can see they're just coming up along here, which I always get a bit excited about planting parsnips because they're actually hard to grow. Sometimes they take quite a long time to germinate, but I love parsnips. And over here, the big mountain of parsnips going to seed. So hopefully I can save my own seed and then be able to replant those. But it is huge. Look how big it is. Pretty yellow flowers, eh? So in the garden I've got a couple of rows of potatoes here, and this row is really dying down. Had a bit of a dig and there's some spuddies under there, so I actually want to plant some other things. So I dug a couple of bits up, and there's some good sized potatoes there. That's pretty cool. So that'll be delicious. Not a lot, but good size. And so I popped a zucchini in there. This zucchini is a zucchini bianca. I have not grown them before, so I got a packet of those seeds given to me. I think it'll be one of those sort of grey coloured ones, but we'll see. So as I pull things out, I always try and put something back in. Lots of broccoli going to seed here, and I'm trying to save the seed, but it's very unattractive while it's doing that. And heaps of beetroot there and there too, which I'm trying to save those seeds, but luckily I've got enough space to do that. But it is a little bit unattractive. The zucchini's growing beautifully, so we've got a green one here. This one's a yellow one. It's taking a little bit longer. They're tiny, but it'll come good. And then I've got another one over there. But the sweet potato that was a volunteer just left. It is enjoying itself down there, so I'm just going to let that go. I think we're going to have sweet potatoes all along here as well, which is where we had them last year. So we redid our arbour this year because last year it got squashed by the beans. So I've just planted probably 2 weeks ago some beans along here. These beans are called tongue of fire beans, and they're for drying. So they're for dried beans to use in soups and all sorts of bits and pieces for the winter time. And then over here I've got some more beans, quite a few volunteer beans from the arbour last year. So I have pulled some of those out and replanted from the other arbour. But these ones, they're a bit patchy, but they're snake beans. Except that one that's growing really well, that's a volunteer one. Just goes to show you the things that live in your garden, they grow really well. But my little loofah has survived, so it's growing nicely. So interested to see these snake beans of what they look like. All the tomatoes, they're growing really well. A few tomatoes on them, and a couple that are going a little bit shiny, not sure. Don't think we'll have them for Christmas. Last year my first ripe tomato was just after Christmas, and these have gone in a couple of weeks later, so might not be till next year that we get some tomatoes, but that's okay. The other zucchini here, not quite sure the name, it was just called a Lebanese zucchini, but they grow really quickly, so there's a few there to harvest as well. It's a warm day here today, so what I've just put some shade cloth over some of my capsicums because they do not like it really hot. They get burnt leaves, so I've just covered them just for a bit, just because I'm around. I've got some nice red onions that need to be pulled out, and I've popped some more green beans in there. These are some of the beans I transferred. They're looking a bit hot, and a couple of cucumbers that I've popped over there as well. This big plant is not a Jerusalem artichoke, it's a yacon. I had never heard of a yacon before. Actually, that is a Jerusalem artichoke. Pull those out, they are not growing in my veggie garden this year. But a yacon, which is a South American plant. It's a tuber. It looks like a sweet potato, but it's actually sweet like a pear or an apple. The first time I've tried it was this year at the Divide and Swap we had, and that's where I got the tuber I mean, and I just put it in the garden to see if it will grow, so I'll be interested to see if we get any tubers. But it's a very interesting plant. It's really nice and crunchy, and we put the one we got in salads, and it's yummy. So let's hope that keeps going. I'm down in the bottom veggie garden, so the corn patch and the pumpkin patch. The pumpkins are starting to ooze out into the paddock, and we're getting a couple of little, where did I see it? Little pumpkins growing. But what I'm doing at the moment is harvesting some broad beans. Now these broad beans we planted as a cover crop, and they have had no care whatsoever, but they have provided us with some beans. So I'm just picking some. The zucchinis, we're harvesting lots of those now, so we're getting a good job of those, and the big rains didn't seem to affect things too much. Might have slowed down things a little bit, but the pumpkins, oh how sweet. the first sunflower is coming out. I planted a couple of sunflowers between the pumpkins for some joy, but good pollinators. We'll see how long it takes for the cockies to find them. Keep picking. So it's early morning. I've come to plant some more corn. Surprisingly, after the floods, I think I've got about 13 that survived. But what I'm planting today, apart from that tomato, is some corn I put in by seed. And this is blue popping corn. So this corn is just for popping. And apparently it's blue. So when I planted it, the little kernels are blue. So we'll see. I've got a couple of trays of that, probably only about 20. So I'm going to put that in between the good looking corn and the I might survive corn, hopefully, and we'll see how it goes. So I've got a few in. I'm just putting them in 4 in a row, and then I'll go back as far as I can go. The native soil that is here is so sticky. It's got stacks of worms in it, but it's so sticky. And I mean, of course, it's really wet after the flood. But I'm digging a hole, and then I've got some of our compost. So I'll put that in the hole before I then put the corn in there. The benefit of the sticky soil is that once you do plant your seedling, it does keep your seedling in place. And it has got lots of worms in it, so it's good. It's just very, very sticky. And hopefully we'll get some popping corn. Corn's all in, and I even found the label. Not only is it blue corn, but it's mini blue corn. So we'll see how that goes. I've also got some dill to put in. Not doing so good on the dill front. I love dill, and I've planted lots, but it just hasn't really survived. So I might actually plant it in the shade of this corn and see how we go. And I've got one tomato to put in, and that is a tomato. Not sure what type of tomato is. We just call it Papoose because it came from our friends Steve and Annie, and I think it's Steve's dad's tomato plant that they've saved seeds from, and apparently it's delicious. So hopefully, I've got a few other ones in the top garden, but I'm just going to plant this one down here. You can never have enough tomatoes. Look at the pumpkins. They're coming out. They're coming out, and the zucchinis look fab. So they didn't mind a little dash of rain, a big dash of rain. So I'm down with the ducks, and as you can see, there is now 4. Sadly, when we came back from a couple of days down in Melbourne, we couldn't find the other boy duck. And this boy duck, you can see he's looking a little bit unusual. I think he's had an injury to his neck. Girls are all good. We can only assume that it maybe was a fox that took it. The other duck, they used to go for such massive, massive walks down the back paddocks and down to the creek, so we assume that something bad happened. But the other boy duck, he's looking a bit better now, but when we came back he was looking very sad and not very comfortable. He's looking a bit better today, so he's just hanging around with the girls. I think next year we might have to look at getting a boy duck that is going to gel with our girl ducks so we can have ducklings. So we'll look into that. So yeah, a bit sad. And he looks a bit lonely now because he hasn't got his buddy to walk around with. We haven't ever found any feathers or remnants of any misfortunate events. Misfortunate, unfortunate, one of those. Yeah. We had a new delivery today. So we got our little fire trailer delivered today. We probably ordered this probably about 8 weeks ago in readiness for the summer. Certainly when it was really dry, and it will come in very handy. So it's on a trailer, and it's like one of those IBC totes, and it's got its own pump, so we can just latch onto the back of the ute. And yeah, It's even got a sprinkler system on top. So it'll actually be good not only for fighting fires, but for watering some of the trees when it's hot. Because we live on acreage and there's grass, we needed to be able to get water if there was a grass fire. So this will provide that security. And it's very fancy red, isn't it? Fire truck red. So that's our new fire trailer. So we're back with the chickens. So these are the little chickens I incubated at the end of October. So they're nearly 6 weeks old. In my effort to get some Araucanas or some blue lane chickens, and of them we only got 6 that hatched, and then there was a couple of our eggs that hatched. So of them, feeding them while I talk to you, I can see that there's a few roosters. This is a rooster, that's a rooster, that's one of ours, and that's a rooster. And that's one of ours, and that's a rooster. So my hope is that this little grey one's a hen, and I think that little black one's a hen. That one, not sure about. So, and yeah, this little, so these two here, I hope. So I'm hoping I've got at least 3 that are hens, but you can see this big rooster here, and his brother there. They're most definitely roosters. So cross fingers, there's 3, possibly 4. This one over here, the black one, his tail's a little bit big and long, and he's got fairly big legs, so I think actually he's a rooster too. But oh, a new one's popped in. Oh dear, look at all those chickens. Chicken math. I have got lots of baby chicks. Now these we didn't incubate, these were mama's chicks. They're all coming back. And hopefully there'll be some hens out of there, and hopefully some of them will actually be Australops. Some of them look like mixes. Like that one there's got a little bit of brown on it, so who knows, because yeah, there's only one grey. We had a couple of greys that didn't make it. Only one little grey. So we'll see what comes of those. Hello, ugly Betty. Thunder. I can hear thunder in the background. So yeah, there's the chicken update too. There's lots, isn't there? Tanya, what are you going to do with all those chickens? We'll make it work. Alright, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time back on the farm.